Hello and welcome back. So, in today's video, I'm going to share with you how I would cut out the shape of an headstock on a paddle-shaped neck. A paddle-shaped head is basically the way the neck comes to you if you buy a guitar kit. It looks like this. It's sort of a paddle, you could say. It looks more like a paddle on a 3-tuner on each side, kind of headstock. All I've done is I've put masking tape on both sides, and as you can also hopefully see, I've drawn out the design that I'm going with. On this particular guitar, I'm going with a classic headstock design reminiscent of a Telecaster, and you're going to see that in later videos, the reasons why I've done that. It's going to get pretty obvious quick. But you can draw any design you want to. Okay, so here I have the headstock, and I'm going to cut on the outside of this line that I've drawn with a jigsaw. And if you hold the jigsaw upside down, you can let it follow like this. And it's not that difficult to do. I know that most of the time you want to hold the jigsaw like this, but with a little bit of practice on some test pieces, you can learn to do it like this. And you just hold the neck to the plate and you move the piece instead of the neck. And you go slowly and carefully and take your time. And it's hardest in the beginning. Something like that. Now we'll just get in here and try to cut out some more. Get a little bit closer to the line. And as you can see, I'm pretty close to the line, not overly, and it's pretty straight. Now we're going to do some cleanup, but first I just want to say that you don't need to use a jigsaw, and you don't need to use a jigsaw that way. I understand if some of you are uncomfortable with doing it that way. It's not as dangerous and as difficult as it might seem. First, obviously, you need to work on your skills with tools. And before you do something that you think might be dangerous, please make sure you know what you're doing. I am very comfortable with power tools and tools in general because I've been building guitars for 10 years. And I've been building other things like furniture and remodeling houses and stuff like that also for a long time. And so I am very comfortable with power tools. If you're not comfortable with power tools, use hand tools. It will go a little bit slower, but it's definitely doable. Okay, so the next thing is we're just going to work our way up to the line. And I'm using a Japanese saw file, which is a very nice tool. And I'm just working my way up to the line. And this is where having masking tape on both sides are a good thing, because as you can see, it got damaged a lot here. But when I take this off, the neck will be nice. And we're going to have to sand this neck anyway, but that has to do with the kind of finish I'm going to put on it later. Not so much the actual neck itself. Because if you have one of these kits, it comes with a really nice finish. So you check the side, make sure it's square. You can look at the neck. You can look down the neck like this. Looking at it like this, the way I'm looking at it. You can roll the neck down and just try to see if it's square that way. I hope that made sense, because I can't really show you. You can hold the neck down like this, hold the rasp like this, and just press down and cut away until you get to the line. Right here, for example, you can see there is a little notch that sticks out where I came in with the saw, and I want to smooth that out, so I can just something like that. I hope you can see now how I shape that out. I'm gonna go back and forth and do a little bit more. And I'll shape this, and I'll use a file like this, and I'll also switch to another one that has a round side so that I can get in here. And I'll be back in 5 seconds, don't worry. Okay, so after you've roughly shaped the neck, you're gonna have a weird transition between the rough cut and the smoothness of the way the neck was made when it came from the factory. The way I do this, I take a carving knife and I just gently blend the two. A carving knife is one of these smaller knives. If you look at a regular knife like this one, you can see the size of the blade is different. And so I'm just using this tiny little one. I'm usually using the tip of it, and I'm cutting away a very small amount of wood. It's not about hogging away, it's about blending. And it's going to get blended even more in the next step. So if you feel like you can't really do it perfectly, then don't worry, it's going to get perfect real soon. And I feel like with the carving knife you have a lot of control. More than you might actually think that you have. So it's a great tool, not just for making wizard wands, but other things. And yes, I do make wizard wands from time to time. Okay, something like that. It's not 100% perfect, but it will be soon. The next step is to take sandpaper. I like to make small little squares like this, and we're just gonna sand. We're just gonna feel with our finger and move it along like this. And we're gonna start off with something like 100 grit sandpaper, and we're gonna move up to 400 grit. And that's just to try to match the rest of headstock. Okay, so now that I've sanded this, I'm gonna remove the tape. It's very easy when you're working with tools, even hand tools, to accidentally carve or ding something up, and sometimes that's okay. If you're doing a relic, you might actually even like that. But sometimes it's also a shame to just ruin something that looks nice. So if I take this tape off, you'll see that everything looks nice. There's still a little bit of residue from the tape, but that will disappear real quick. And so you can see it looks really nice, the shape and everything, it looks good. And now if I run my finger along this side here, where we have done nothing, and then I come around here, I can feel that it's very sharp. It looks sharp on this edge. I don't know if you can see, it looks like it's a straight, but it's actually round over just a little bit. So we're going to round over this part as well. So I'm just going to start off with 200. And the reason why I'm jumping to 200 grit sandpaper is because we don't need to take off a lot at all. And I'd rather take and go over this with my finger like this a couple of times to break the angle a little bit, than to take it down with like 40 and just powl through the entire neck. I'm just going back and forth like this, and I'm feeling this side and I'm feeling this side. And on a more vintage like guitar, maybe breaking up this edge here on the strats until this edge was even more rounded over than the top here. So I'm gonna go a little bit overboard. So I'll be back in a minute. So here it is now, and it's all done. it looks good. All I have to do now is put some finish on, and if you want to keep the feeling of the neck the way it is and you don't want to lacquer it or anything like that, you could put something like a true oil or boiled linseed oil on Protect the Wood. I would probably use boiled linseed oil to keep it the same color. If you put something like true oil on, it will yellow a little bit. But the good thing about something like true oil is that you can build it up and get a nicer finish. But if you sand this to maybe even higher grit than 400 and then put boiled linseed oil on, I think it would look really nice. If you want to lacquer the guitar neck, you're gonna have to sand the entire thing. Anyway, this is what it looks like. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know in the comments below what you think. And if you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer them. Thanks so much for watching. If you wouldn't mind subscribing, I would appreciate it. You don't have to if you don't want to. And until next time, stay awesome and cool and go and build something. Maybe guitar neck?